Hey man, what you looking at, man? I'm sorry. Is that a good Tony Montana impression? But yeah, um, I'm the new kid in the block that just discovered Scarface as a movie. I mean, what am I talking about? It's a new movie. No one has watched Scarface, but genuinely, like, it's one of those. Like it's one of those things when you, I don't know how to explain it, but you know when you just never hear of anything. It was something new that you just never heard of, and then suddenly when you can go and are like, oh, look at this new thing I discovered, suddenly actually everyone knows about it. Sucks. What I have to say is I thoroughly enjoyed it. One of the best things I've ever watched, actually. Surprisingly, a movie that's like got 9 out of 10s all around. But yeah, one thing I have to say while watching the movie, it's so good that I didn't think it was like, it's obviously the movie came out in 1983, but when I was while watching, I was genuinely like, is this a 90s movie or even an early 2000s movie that just acted like it was from the 80s? Because it was that good. It's hard to explain, obviously. I'm not fucking movie critic. I'm not claiming to be. I'm an idiot that just discovered Tony Montana. Hey man. Even the way I like how I even decided to watch the movie. It wasn't like a recommendation. It's just one of those things where like, oh, the Scarface thing, because I saw a meme, I think, with just a video.
Balls. So is your boy out the helicopter with his shoe flying off?
All I got is my balls
and my word.
So I just watched it and I was like, this is fucking pretty good, man. Pretty good, man. Is it a good impression? I don't know. I still think it's a good impression, but obviously from the laughs that I got yesterday in my D&D game, no one actually thought it was a good. And I said that as a joke earlier, and I was like, Scarface is comedy, right? Genuinely, it was hilarious. Let's say I laughed at watching Scarface way more than I've laughed while watching the new comedy movies these days. Definitely much more funnier. Just cooler, like the concept of characters such as Tony Montana, a Cuban prisoner that came to the US, an immigrant that came to the US. Wow, so cool. The way he acts, the way he holds himself, it just speaks to the greatness of Al Pacino as a character actor, or just as an actor. He's in The Godfather too. I should probably watch that too. I don't know why I haven't. It's so crazy because I'm just discovering this new world of movies that existed in the 70s and the early 80s, like American movies that came out in the 70s and 80s, and I'm like, oh, this is actually so great. I just found a gold mine while people have been mining that gold mine for a while now. But you can't take from it, like, it genuinely. What does that make that era so good? Like, of movies that I can. I'm not a movie buff at all. I don't claim to be. Like I said earlier, but I can think of so many great movies that came out in that era. It was just a boom of cinema, I suppose. Just great movies like the late 70s, early 80s. I'm trying to think. Do we have in the 2000s? Do we even have movies that could stand out like that, like Scarface, The Godfather? Even you can even count Star Wars, which is crazy. It sounds like, now that I'm thinking about it, 1980s sounds like they were supposed to be like a very long time ago, but it's actually it's supposed to be only 40 years ago. So basically, I just watched the movie that is 41 years old. Now I'm not trying to take from it. Like I said, it's so good. Like I've loved everything in the movie. I've loved everything in the movie. I still see that balloon. What do you call it? That had the world is yours on the side. That was so cool. And it was the whole arc too. It was like from a man They came to the US looking for a dream, looking to like try and maybe fix his life. I suppose he probably had a bad life. They never got into his background really, but he was obviously in prison or from prison. He was obviously not a very good guy from the start, but just the way this whole arc, how it just got completed by the end. Like by the end, Scarface Sonny ended up being much more like what's the guy's name? I forget. I don't. But he just ended up becoming much more like him. Like what was when they were talking at the Babylon, they were like, "Well, rule 2, you don't never use your own shit." But then he fucking the Scarface just head first into cocaine. This was funny. I told you, Scarface is a fucking comedy. Scarface is a comedy. It's so hilarious. I love the accents, man. I know it's probably so shit, but I just love saying the word, man. It is that moment when he goes, "Sometimes I don't eat so good."
Maybe I don't hear so good sometimes.
So fucking good. Sometimes I don't hear so good. Like the movie is supposed to be long, 2 hours and 50 minutes. I didn't even feel it. Like in the whole movie, there is a sense of part 1. Like it could definitely be a part 1, part 2. Now thinking about it, probably in this, if Scarface would come out this day and age, it'd definitely be 2-parters with how much 2-parters we have recently. So it's definitely a business thing. Yeah, let's make this thing two parts. So maybe if Scarface would have come out nowadays, it would be like a first 2 hours movie, then another 2 hours movie.
Thing in this world that gives voice is bones.
What's that line about? What's that line about anyway? The only thing that gives orders in life is balls. The whole movie as a whole, like the cinematography, the story, the characters, everything was like pretty much a 10 out of 10. You can't really find anything bad about it. I'm genuinely trying to think of something I did not like. One of the most fun experiences watching a movie, and that's what it has to be, right? Like everyone is shooting from the hips, which is hilarious. Like I don't know anything about guns, but if I know one thing, you don't shoot a big ass gun from the hip.
Say hello to my little friend!
But it's also kind of charming, isn't it? Like the movies from that time era, they were just wacky that way, which is charming. It just plays into that into the movie's favor. It just your time. Had a good time watching Scarface, and I hope you had too. Probably you had. Anyhow, any more movies to watch? Hopefully. Just the pink cup in the background. And I love this cup.